So it says, when Herod the king had heard these things, he was troubled, and all Jerusalem with him. So, Katrina, why was King Herod troubled here?
Well, it all starts in the beginning of the chapter where it says that he was king. So to hear the king of the Jews was born, of course, he would be upset because he currently was the king of Judah. So he would be concerned about another person trying to take his throne. So that would make him upset. And that's why he took such extreme measures. So in Matthew 2, verse 4, and when he had gathered all the chief priests and scribes of the people together, he demanded of them where Christ should be born. Who are these chief priests and scribes that he gathered together?
Well, he gathered together the spiritual leaders of the Jewish nation, and they're known as the Sanhedrin. And he was actually consulting the top, as I said, spiritual leaders in the nation. So I'm going to go over to Matthew 26 here in verse 59. And we can see here, now the chief priests and elders and all the council sought false witness against Jesus to put him to death. And so here we've got the same group here, and it says all the council. So if I switch this to Strong's, the word council here, G4892, and here we can see the Greek, the name of the council. Here it's Sanhedrin, but in English we call it the Sanhedrin, a subordinate tribunal, and it's translated as council. This is the Sanhedrin, and we can see every verse where the Sanhedrin is used, and by clicking on G4892, and we can see them, those verses here. If you want to do a study of this council, this is how you would do it. So if I come to Acts 5, verse 34, then there stood up one in the council, a Pharisee named Gamaliel, a doctor of the law. This is the constituency of this council. Had a reputation among all the people and commanded to put the apostles forth a little space. And I'm just going to come down now to 22:30, because this Gamaliel plays an interesting role here. And in 22:30, on the morrow, because it would have known the certainty, therefore, he was accused of the Jews. This is talking about Paul. He loosed him from his bands and commanded the chief priests and all their council to appear, and brought Paul down to set him before them. So this is here where Paul is actually brought before this council, the Sanhedrin. And Paul was one who actually studied at the feet of Gamaliel. So he ends up possibly before the very person at whose feet he studied.
Okay, so this reminds me of like in the United States Supreme Court, like the ones that make the decisions over the law. So they use Torah. The Sanhedrin use the Torah to
Yes,
make decisions. Okay.
yes.
Starting at Matthew 2 and 5, we see that it says, and when they said unto him, in Bethlehem of Judea, for thus is written by the prophet. And that prophecy is in Micah 5 and 1. But thou, Bethlehem Ephratah, thou be little among the thousands of Judah. So that tells us that Bethlehem was a small area. I believe it was the smallest. So when you look at something like that, knowing that Jesus was going to be very important, it didn't matter what area he came from. That area was small, but that's where Jesus was going to be born. So that shows us here that he would be born in Bethlehem. So it fulfills that prophecy. So when we look at Micah 5, at the end it says, yet out of these shall he come forth unto me that is yet to be a ruler in Israel. And we know that when Jesus came the first time, he did not come to rule. So this also showed us there's a part of the prophecy yet to be fulfilled.
Uncover the mystery of Adam and Eve's nakedness. Unravel the ambiguous connection between the Hebrew term for naked and the serpent's subtlety. Join us for this free mini-course and gain a profound new perspective on biblical Hebrew. TheExplanation.com/naked